Israel is reportedly on high alert amid concerns of aerial threats as Israeli and Arab partners, along with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, convened for a two-day historic diplomatic summit in the country. Israel has put its airspace on high alert ahead of the expected arrival of foreign ministers of UAE, Bahrain and Morocco. While the nature of the threat has not been specified, this alert comes in the heels of an Islamic State attack in northern Israel on Sunday, where 2 police officers were killed. The attack put a damper on the summit, which was attended by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who sought to reassure U.S. allies over Washington's diplomacy with Iran. The aim of the meeting was to mark the shift in Arab-Israeli ties that began in late 2020. The U.S. Secretary of State said that the U.S. has vital interests in the Middle East.
I made the trip here, during which I'll visit Israel, the West Bank, Morocco, Algeria, because this is a part of the world where the United States has vital interests and some of our closest friends. The United States will continue to invest in the region, strengthening the relationships that are central to stability in the Middle East and North Africa, making progress on enduring challenges, broadening opportunities for our people, and at the same time staying focused on ending the Kremlin's war of aggression.
Blinken's visit comes as some U.S. allies in the region questioned Washington's commitment to the nuclear deal with Iran. Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid admitted that even though there is a difference of opinion on the revival of the nuclear deal, Israel and the United States will continue to work together.
We have disagreements about a nuclear agreement and its consequences, but open and honest dialogue is part of the strength of our friendship. Israel and the United States will continue to work together to prevent a nuclear Iran. At the same time, Israel will do anything we believe is needed to stop the Iranian nuclear program.
The nuclear talks in question had been close to an agreement a few weeks ago until Russia made last-minute demands, stressing that sanctions imposed on Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine must not affect its trade with Iran. Blinken reiterated that Washington remained committed to ensuring that Iran never acquired a nuclear weapon. Today's summit will be attended by the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Morocco, who are all part of the Abraham Accords brokered by the Trump administration to normalize ties with Israel. Now, for more on this, our correspondent Jody Cohen is joining us live from Ra'anana in Israel. Jody, good to see you. There are reports of an alert being issued before the summit commences, and also we understand that Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has contracted COVID. Can you confirm these reports and what impact will they have on this forum?
Hi, Eric. So the tone has changed quite considerably since we spoke yesterday. The summit is, of course, taking place over 2 days, Sunday and Monday. When the delegates arrived, there was lots of smiling photos issued. We heard about the dinner being very warm with positive conversation and really in an informal atmosphere, much like you would see at Camp David in the US. Then at 8:30 last night, there was a terror attack that took place in Hadera, which is 3 hours drive away from where the delegates are at the summit. And this has been claimed by Islamic State. 2 police officers were killed, several more have been injured, and the attack has been praised by Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. So this undoubtedly will have an impact on the tone of the summit. After dinner last night, there was supposed to be a musical performance, which was, of course, cancelled. And as you said, Israel is on alert for a possible air attack, potentially by a drone over the summit. So they have increased security there, of course. And Prime Minister Bennett is holding a security assessment today on Monday about the terror attack. As you said, Prime Minister Bennett has now tested positive for COVID-19, which potentially could have more of an impact on the summit. He's working from home, which is just down the road from where I am now. The people he met with, most notably Secretary of State Blinken, he met at a very high-profile meeting yesterday, will no doubt have to be tested themselves for COVID-19. And it remains to be seen what the knock-on impact of that will be. But the summit will continue.
Well, Jody, it is the first time the ministers from the UAE, Morocco and Bahrain will meet with their Israeli counterpart in his home country. Tell us more about the significance of this forum and the influence it will have on the region.
So this summit is definitely high on symbolism. It's taking place in Sde Boker in the desert. Now, that was the home of Israel's first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion. He spoke at the founding of the modern state of Israel and really talked about how Israel and the Arab states need to work together to cooperate on peace. And now, 75 years later, real symbolism that the summit is taking place there and that we're seeing Israel host this historic summit, which really most people would not have believed would have been possible only 2 years ago before the signing of the Abraham Accords 18 months ago. But of course, it's not all about symbolism. The delegates are here to do business and to do work. We know that there are going to be bilateral meetings taking place today. There's been talk potentially of a UAE-Israel economic agreement being discussed. There's going to be a round table has been scheduled for 12:30 p.m. IST of all the participants, and then statements to the press will follow. The key focus, of course, will be a show of unity in the face of Iran, the Iran nuclear deal talks that are ongoing that potentially might be signed over the next few days. And there's also been talk specifically of advancing a regional security architecture to deal with threats by air, sea and piracy in West Asia coming from Iran. So a lot on the table on the agenda there.
Jody Cohen, stay with me because I want your insights on this following story. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.